261 runs for Australia and 5 wickets for India. Those are the two targets that will decide this Melbourne Test match. You are watching ESPN Cricinfo Matchday, brought to you by Maruti Suzuki. That's the scorecard at the moment. 138 for 5 is where Australia chasing a target of 399 runs. The wickets have been shared between the Indian bowlers, Bumrah 2, Jadeja 2 and Mohammad Shami picking up that 1 wicket. Joining me, VVS Laxman, Brad Hodge. Are we now going to be watching the last session of this test match? What do you reckon?
It can be possible, but I think Australian fans definitely don't want that. They want the team to fight it out. Last 5 batsmen, and we know that Australian tail is a long tail, and they can bat well. They've shown that at Perth as well, and they take a lot of pride in their batting and value and put a price on their wicket. But having said that, the Indian bowlers are on a roll. The way they are bowling on this wicket, especially someone like Jasprit Bumrah, the way he's attacking the stumps and bowling those wicket-taking deliveries is really good to see.
You're talking about Jasprit Bumrah. I can remember that image that Virat Kohli had, almost doffing his hat off to Jasprit Bumrah. That's the kind of performance that he's been giving him. I think it's 8 wickets for him. It's the first time that Jasprit Bumrah has managed to get those many wickets for the Indian team. It's been an outstanding year for the fast bowler as well. If I was to ask you that particular image that I spoke about, if you had to give a caption, what would you give? What do you think Virat Kohli is telling Jasprit Bumrah there?
He's telling it's an honor to captain you, and that's I think he's a delight for any captain, and that's what probably Virat is telling. Hats off to you, and it's a real honor to captain a bowler of your class and your attitude. And
Okay.
that would be the
Honor to captain you. Okay, Brad, if you were to caption that pick, what would that be?
Yeah, it was amazing. I think one of the things we were talking about just before, it's what he's saying. It's a pleasure, absolutely. And the fast bowlers of Shami, Ishant, and Bumrah collectively have just overtaken the greats of Malcolm Marshall, Joel Garner, and Michael Holding as the most wickets in a calendar year. So,
Wow.
hats off, absolutely, to those three. I guess that's what Virat is saying. What an amazing performance.
Okay, that's an interesting stat
Yep.
that Brad's got in a calendar year to go past the likes of your personal favorite, Malcolm Marshall, Joel Garner, Michael Holding. Did you ever expect an Indian fast bowler group to do something like that?
No. To be very honest, never. Because those fast bowlers from West Indies, that Courtwright and all these bowlers we're just talking about were legends of the game, and they were not only skillful, but they were ruthless. And for you to achieve this kind of success, you have to be ruthless. Each and every ball, each and every over, each and every spell, you have to be at it. With the control and put pressure on the batsman, and that's really good to see. And also again, reiterate the fact and the importance of fitness. Those legends of the game. I don't know how much emphasis they used to put on fitness, but for them to bowl consistently and above 140, 145 kilometers per hour would not have been easy if they were not strong. So this Indian group are skillful, they're ruthless, and above all, they're supremely fit.
You've been to the West Indies. I don't think they needed to put a lot of effort for fitness. They're genetically blessed, so many of those batsmen, bowlers from the West Indies, so good physically as far as their physical fitness is concerned. Okay, we've got a question now coming in from Facebook on the Indian batting, I believe, and let's see how they've been performing. This is Jitin. Could India have used Vihari in that session? Oh, he's talking about a batsman, but in a bowling context.
Yeah, I think there was no need. Because the bowlers weren't tired, and there was always something on offer, even to Jadeja or the fast bowlers. In fact, I felt that Ishant Sharma could have bowled a lot more in that session than probably what he did. There was no need of getting a Vihari. Why do you get a part-timer if your regular bowlers are not tired and if your regular bowlers are bowling well?
Okay, we're getting plenty of questions about the banter that we just heard before. It was tea time between Tim Paine and Rishabh Pant. Before I take a question, who do you think is winning that little battle? It's carried on for 2 days now.
Yeah, I think
you're enjoying it first.
I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
I'm enjoying it. While a little amusing, especially when Tim Paine was talking to Rishabh Pant yesterday, and also this morning. Then when Rohit Sharma was batting, but it's good. I enjoy that. That's the kind of game you want. That's the kind, especially for the viewers, it's exciting. You don't want a boring, dull game, and it's really good to see the other aspect of Tim Paine's personality. You know, till the second innings of Perth Test, we felt that he was a very subdued, you know, very focused, you know, low profile captain. But since that spat or the tussle he had with Virat Kohli at Perth, I think that's charged him up.
Which one did you enjoy more? As in which, I keep asking you to rate 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Paine calling Rishabh Pant babysitter, or now Rishabh Pant telling Paine a temporary captain?
To be very honest, Paine calling Rishabh Pant babysitter.
Babysitter,
and makes sense, because he himself is a baby. Rishabh Pant, international cricket, just 21 years of old, and very cute, innocent face.
Okay.
So that's something which I've never heard on a cricket field, and nothing related to the game.
Yep. Brad, what about you? Which one did you enjoy more? Which bit of the banter? Was it the babysitting offer that Paine offered Rishabh Pant, or now Pant calling him a temporary captain?
No, I like the babysitter one actually. I think it's great. Knowing the fact that the MSD is coming back into the fray. Everyone's laughing around the Akash Chopra, especially, is laughing behind me. So I think everyone enjoyed that bit of banter. It was good fun stuff.
Okay, I'm guessing you're having a bit of banter of your own there at the MCG with your fellow commentators. Okay, we're getting plenty of questions now from viewers, all based on this Rishabh Pant versus Tim Paine. Pawan, why is Pant being stopped from having a chat? Was Paine stopped as well?
I think we're not sure what happened in between the overs, and that's something which only the players out there and the umpires would know.
If anything happened.
Yeah, if anything happened. But otherwise, what Pant has said, if because of that, Ian Gold is having a chat with Rishabh Pant, I don't think that's fair. He didn't say something which is abusive. Or which is personal, and he spoke a fact which is he's a stand-in captain. So there's no reason for Ian Gold to show any objection to what Pant has told. But we don't know sitting here what happened in between the over or once the over was completed.
Let's talk to someone who's sitting at the ground. Brad, did you notice anything that was said in between overs, or was the umpire talking about that banter that was happening while Tim Paine was batting?
Well, it's been going all game actually. So it started, I think yesterday or 2 days ago when Rohit Sharma was batting, and they were talking about which team in the IPL Tim Paine was going to support. So he's obviously supporting Delhi Daredevils now that he's best friends with Rishabh Pant. So I think it'll continue on. It's a bit of fun, and they're out there trying to win a test match for their team. But it's good fun, encouraging stuff.
Okay, I'm getting plenty of messages on that particular thing. Shivam Pahuja is saying that Ian Gould was silent when Tim Paine was talking, but why is it that something is being told to Rishabh Pant? Why not the same standards? Is what plenty of fans here are saying. Okay, I'm just going to get back to Jasprit Bumrah's bowling, and let's talk about Usman Khawaja. The way he got him, Khawaja was looking good, and we keep talking about Bumrah's Yorker. That ball itself was almost unplayable. The way
and again beaten by pace. I think Khawaja was beaten by pace. I even felt that Shaun Marsh was beaten by pace. Because when you saw Khwaja's position, both the legs close by and almost in the air. He was on his toes. And that means that on this wicket, which is supposed to be a slow wicket, and someone like Jasprit Bumrah is beating a player of the caliber of Khawaja, was a set batsman, again speaks volumes of the kind of impact he's creating and the rhythm he's in. Brilliant wicket, because Khawaja was looking dangerous, and he was looking as someone who was looking to be a little proactive and aggressive, and so was Shaun Marsh.
Brad, because we're talking about the Shaun Marsh dismissal, as VVS here says, he was beaten by pace. We spoke about Shaun Marsh, and there was a question in our previous show where a fan wanted to know, was this the last chance? I know he didn't get a half century or a big enough score, but looked good in the time he spent there. Could be a lifeline for him going forward?
No, I don't think so. I think looking back at the last 10 innings that Shaun Marsh has played, he's averaging 16. So I don't think we can put up with any more. I think it's time that we go into a new test match. I don't know what the theory is. They've already picked the squad of 13 or 14 for this match and Sydney. So whether they can change that or not, I'm not sure. But to me, I just think we're barking up the wrong tree here. I think the selectors have made some errors, and we have to wrong a right pretty quickly, because it's just not happening for Shaun nor his brother Mitch, who been out to Jadeja 4 times for 11 runs in 70 balls. I mean, for a number 6, that it can't happen.
Okay,
I
that's
think
it.
it's not prudent, from the Australian selectors to change someone now, because the last test match of the series, it's not at all prudent, and it's not someone who's got it early. I think this is not a time for people to assess his test average. People have to assess that he got a half century at Perth and he got a 44 runs innings in the second.
Good, as I said.
Look good. And the last test match, especially if Australia is going to lose this test, I think it's not to experiment or blood a young talent. It's all about showing trust and faith in the players who you picked at the start of the series, and just allowing them to go out and not play for their spot, but try to redeem some pride, and try to win the game for Australia and level the series.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out what Brad was saying, and the word that he used, you're barking up the wrong tree. Could that be a larger vision that he's talking about, like going forward, maybe not this test match, but Shaun Marsh may not be the option in the middle order, and they need to look at
I mean, the
someone
potential he has got, and he's been playing for some time now, and you want your experienced players, senior players, to deliver when it matters the most, and this is the year. I mentioned also when Steve Smith and David Warner were banned for the ball tampering incident. This was a year where the people who were always overshadowed or played under the shadow of Steve Smith and David Warner, because both of them were the backbone and the main batting greats in this Australian batting lineup. So it was a great opportunity for players like Usman Khawaja, Shaun Marsh, who've been there for a long time, to showcase their talent and take responsibility of doing well for the Australian team. But unfortunately, Usman Khawaja has lived up to the expectations, but not Shaun Marsh. And that's really disappointing. One player which I think Brad can answer that question much better than probably what I can is I've spent time with Moses Henricks. With the Sunrisers. He always came across someone who had a temperament of being a very successful test match batsman. He had the temperament, he had the technique to counter swinging delivery, seaming delivery. He had beautiful compact technique, used to get into good position against the turning ball. I'm not sure why he's not in relevance as far as test match cricket is concerned.
Brad, would you want to answer that?
Yeah, well, it's a good point. And Moses Henricks generally got an opportunity in the UAE or India and hasn't had an opportunity on home shores. So, yeah, that's things that we've got to look at as selectors. I mean, if we keep promoting guys that average in 30 in Test match cricket, we're going to get nowhere. So, I think that we have to look at these sort of options and make a call. We're going to play Sri Lanka next, then go to the Ashes. I think right now we're in trouble. And we need some serious solutions. And what we've got at the moment just isn't good enough. It's not standing up to the might of India in this series, and they needed to. That was why we picked the senior members in this squad.
All right, fair point. I'm just looking at, again, viewer comments, and most of them are now talking about the Sydney test. It looks like for them this test is almost done and dusted. India have wrapped it up, so they're looking ahead what should be done in Sydney. Anyway, I'm going back to the other bit that is being discussed a lot, and this was that sledging bit. Aparna has a question on YouTube saying that you thought that babysitting comment was slightly more wittier than the one pun, but he is of the opinion it was derogatory. Do you subscribe to that?
No, I don't think so. It's derogatory. I think it was something in fun, and humor, and that's what you expect. When you're sledging, you want that banter to happen. You want something which will last in the mind of the viewers at the same time of the player. You want the player to be thinking and getting distracted. So I don't think so. It's derogatory or something which is very personal.
It's witty. In
fact,
witty. He thought of it. Okay, we're getting another question. This is on Facebook that we've got for VVS Laxman. Akshay wants to know, can you take us back of that sledging incident of the 2003 tour, and is this Pant really matches that, which he doesn't think so?
Well, I can never ever forget the last test match of the great Steve Waugh at Sydney. And Parthiv Patel, he's so witty, and he was the wicket keeper, and Parthiv Patel, because we were in a very good position, a strong position where we could have won the test match and won the test series, and Steve Waugh walking out to bat in last innings of his career, and he was, I think, on 20 or 30, and we knew that he was looking comfortable, and we wanted to get his wicket. And Parthiv started, his usual chirping from behind the stumps, and Steve Waugh listened patiently, and then suddenly looked back. I was at Silly Point and looked back at Parthiv and said, what's your age? and Parthiv I think was 17 or and I've played more international cricket than your age is. And that was unbelievable. You never ever can forget. But Parthiv never stopped even after that to sledge or chirp and distract Steve Waugh. So that's something which was very funny. And that's the beauty of the game. When you're playing against the best, you want to have that aggression, and you do everything possible within the rules and regulations of the game to distract your opposition player.
Okay, pity we didn't have stump mics at that time. We could have heard Steve Waugh versus Parthiv Patel. But Brad's been listening to the stories. He has a story of his own. Over to you, Brad.
Oh, look, I haven't got any legendary stories like that, but there's been plenty. I mean, the Australians have always been pretty good at sledges. I mean, sitting just to the right of me is Glenn McGrath, who was pretty dynamic and had some silly ones. But I think one of the best was not an India versus Australia encounter. It was Australia versus South Africa, and I think it was Ian Healy suggested that they chuck a Mars bar out there for one of these South Africans to bat it, to go and get it. And he retorted with saying, well, I better hurry up because I think Booney at short leg might dive for it quicker than I will. So, that was pretty funny stuff. So, but it's all in good heart. That's what, you got to remember. That comment was certainly not derogatory. It's all, I've seen the smiles on the faces out of the players out in the middle. They're enjoying their cricket as hard as it is country versus country. They're still having some good light-hearted stuff.
All right, before I wrap up the show, Brad, here's a message from Kim, who's also watching us on YouTube. He wants you to pass that message on to Akash Chopra, since he photobombed you the other day, saying that maybe Akash Chopra can open for Australia. That's the only solution. So you could just, let him know that. Finally, before we wrap up this particular show, we've got that Fab 4. Let's see how VVS Laxman and Brad Hodge are doing. We're just looking at the leaderboard, and it's still as close as it was during our lunchtime show. 684 for Brad Hodge, 657 for VVS Laxman. It's not going to change much since
it all boils down to Pat Cummins. I'm waiting for Pat Cummins to come and bat.
Okay, so there's one time you're hoping an Australian batsman bats
Can
longer.
score some runs, just 28 runs.
Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen. Completely out of time. VVS Laxman, Brad Hodge. You are watching the Tea Time Show. We'll be back at the end of day's play at day 4 of the Melbourne Test match. See you then. You are watching ESPN Cricinfo Match Day.